Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hellhound Heights. Tonight's the night everybody's been waiting for a long time now. And maybe that long time ain't so long, but for those who've been waiting for this story, it's long enough. My name is Dakota Darko, and I'm your host, and I always will be your host on Cryptic Nights just like this. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands how valuable this story is. So when I heard this story from this man, it completely just rocked me. So I'm not going to keep going on about it. I'm going to let him talk for himself. So tonight, I want you to please welcome Busy Blank once again. Busy, take it away, buddy.
Thank you. How you doing tonight?
Oh, it's a lovely night, man. It's a night we've all been waiting for. I've been waiting to get
That's
these
right.
details in here.
Yeah, I'll try. It's a don't really know where to start. I guess I started this by hearing stuff. It was one of my cousins and one of his buddies, and they'd had an encounter at a creek and a couple times, but one time it was right up near them, and they kind of heard it walk off bipedal, and they seen it and stuff. And of course, he didn't really want to tell anybody about him. He told me, and then I didn't rag him about it or nothing. I just kind of kept it hard. Didn't really know what to say. And not to get off track, but first off, back I was familiar with it all, like I've talked to you about already. But my dad had actually seen a Dogman in uh, 79, 80, or whatever. I'm bad with years, and I'm trying to remember around that time though. I think it was 79. But I rode out there yesterday with my wife, day before yesterday, on the motorcycle, right exactly where he'd had his encounter at. But yeah, that's so I was familiar with what my cousin was talking about and stuff, and it was the same area that my dad had his encounter in, probably 5, 6 miles from there, and it's not near where I live at. I'm like it's nearby, like in Kentucky, but it's not right here with me or nothing. It's not in my county or nothing. So time went on, and we went fishing one day. Wasn't too long. The local gun shop just had got two Glock 44 22 long rifles in stock, and I bought one and he bought one, and that's all we was carrying that day. And I always carry 10 millimeter. Carried 10 millimeter for years now. Um, but this day I didn't. The little Glock 44 was made with me, and that's just all I took. I was like, I'm just taking this little Creek pistol, and but yeah, it started out crazy sounds like it's. I don't know how to even describe it other than like the way I wrote it when I wrote it in my letter to Reels there. Described it as like a dinosaur type sound, and it was like Jurassic Park. Like that's the first thing my mind thought of. It's like some kind of Hollywood dinosaur thing, like a carnivorous one, not like a pterodactyl or nothing. And then that sound didn't last long, and it changed into like a bullish wolf man combination of a rory scream, and we was way on off we was fishing, so we was way on off through there though, and we was in some thick stuff and or on the other side of some thick stuff, and we could see the bushes and stuff. It was coming down like towards us, and it went on for a second. Looking back on it now, I'm not trying to remember it all right, but yeah, time went on there. We heard it 3 or 4 times, and long story short, we skedaddled that night. We did just like, let's get out here pretty safe. Like it, we had 22 long rifles, and I never seen anything. He didn't either, other than the bush. And when we saw the underbrush and it was coming, it kept making noise. And when it got close to us, it didn't make none of that sounds no more. It was more like it was stalking, slipping back and forth. It was going at an angle. It was coming down should have said that the first time. It was up on a ridge, and it was real growed up. Summertime, it's all thick, and he was coming down that ridge though, and couldn't make it out. It wasn't no bear, it wasn't nothing like that. Like I know all the animals like the back of my hand. Like I literally grew up in outside. So uh that was pretty much that. But that right there took me on a course to start really looking into. I was like, this is something else right here. And so I started studying and everything I could. And like that just kind of put me in my hole. And, at this point, I pretty much knew what it was. I just didn't want to tell myself that's what it was. But I kind of kept that part to myself. I never come out and tell my cousin, it's a werewolf or whatever, or a dog man. But I just kind of knew when putting it all together, hearing my dad's story and how he never wanted to talk about what the head looked like. But uh, so yeah, that's what got me into starting to studying on it real hard. And it was probably a while. It was a while later, maybe even a year later. I don't know. I was on a motorcycle ride with my wife, same location, probably about a mile from where we parked at, and we'd walk back in there and then another mile or whatever. So, and this is in the middle. This is in a very rural location. It's on a back road off a back road. It's in a gravel road, dirt road situation. It's back in there like off road type territory normally. And we was leaving, and a whole bunch of weird stuff happened that day. There was like people that I'd never seen that was there. That it was real pale complected. They not like albino, but like just like they hadn't had no sun in forever, and everything was just weird that down there in that holler that day. But yeah, when we was leaving, she's I she's she didn't say anything. So we get down the road, and then she taps me. She's like, "Did you see it?" And I was like, "See what?" And she said it was a giant wolf dog thing. And I was like, "No, where's it at?" I'm looking at this point, and she was like, "Oh, it was back there after you went around the creek and stuff. It was up on the left." And I was like, "Well, that was way the hell back there. Why didn't you say nothing?" And she said that she just couldn't gather her thoughts, like she was just shocked in her brain and couldn't really quite, think to tell me or whatever. So we went back after we went home. Me and I had a babysitter at the time. We went back, got the car and stuff. Went back and my wife's fearless. Like if you know her, like you take her out in the woods, she ain't scared of nothing. Like I ain't even joking. So that day she was scared to get out the car almost. And when she did get out the car, she wouldn't leave the door and just left it open. And I went right where she said it would be, and there was tracks there, and my mind's thought 1,000 times, like it was either as it stepped, the claws were so large it scraped its own tracks as it walked, or somebody had come behind it, or the creatures had come back and scratched the tracks up to where they wasn't really perfectly readable. They made it crashed through some corn, and after I got to looking, I was like, that creature went right to cut us off on the motorcycle. Like it went right to where we was going. Like, cause the road loops around, the road snakes around, but it took off in a straight angle. So I was like, it wasn't, and I never seen it again. Neither bothered us or anything, but it had got to a better vantage point where it saw us better. Like I have no doubts in my mind. Like I know that part of the country and stuff. So, but yeah, that was, that really got me searching around. And, I'd always been known about the Bell Witch over in Adams, Tennessee. There's so many different stories about that. But I remember hearing the old stories, like the old stories my old timers would tell about it and stuff. And it always started with him shooting a werewolf or a giant big black wolf dog thing. So we really wasn't that far from Adams at this where all this happened. So that really got me searching and looking and thinking. And but yeah, this is then that was right prior to this time was all just study and stuff. And I started trying to contact a lot of different what you call cryptozoologists and stuff like that, some of the bigger names and stuff. And I was being sincere, and then found out real quick they just love that money. They're like, buy this book, and buy that video or whatever. So you ain't really getting that much help from them, really. They might act like it, and if they just funnel that knowledge, they are only going to release what they want, just like Hollywood's. It's a controlled knowledge. So you gotta be careful feeding on that one. But so about the time I run into reels. Yeah. Yeah, it's about the time I run into reels, I guess, roughly. I talked to him for a while, back and forth forever. Even had wherever even seen the creature. I mean, the day I did see it, I wasn't even looking at it, and I was at work. I was terms of fate with my son and stuff. I either was not getting into all that, but at the time I was an expedite driver, and had an expedite run, and I knew the back roads real good, so I went that way, and I just going down through there and come up over this rise. I don't want to say where it was at, but I could take, evidently I know where it was at exactly, of course, but I don't really want to say. So anyhow, I'm going down this road and come down this rise, and it looked just like a blurry Sasquatch photo. That's how I wrote it to reels too, but it did. It really did. Even looking back into my mind, it looked just like a blurry blob down there. And I dropped over the hill and slowing my truck down, and then the horses, that's what first got my attention. I'm sorry about that. Them horses, they was going crazy, and um, had spent a lot of years with horses. I think I'd mentioned that. I think I just mentioned going to Wrangler Cup with a horse, but yeah, we had horses for years. So I know horses, and I know how they act and everything. I know, so they're scared to death. They're like coursing around this field in different directions, real chaotic, and I'm already thinking, that's when I seen the blob, and then I slowed down, and that's in it's about 75 yards out, right on the inside edge of a pond bank. The only part of it I didn't see was its feet. But I had my glasses on that day. I had my glasses corrected for me, a little better than normal vision with my glasses on. So I could see real pretty good, And it was doing so. I don't know what it was doing. I keep thinking it was eating a fish, but I don't quote me on that one. So, but it looked at me, and I had time to look over it because, okay, my mind, when I seen it, I thought the same thing my wife did. A big giant wolf dog thing. And it's big for real. And it's down on fours. And its hair sticking all up, kind of like a little kid when they touch one of them balls with electricity in it. What's them things called?
Something sphere,
Yeah.
electrosphere or something.
Yeah, something like, yeah, whatever that. Yeah, that's what it looked. That's all I can think of that I've seen in my life, and it looks like that. Except like a woolly worm too. Like a woolly worm looks like kind of like that. But his hair was like that, sticking up, crazy looking, like it static or something. But I looked over it, and then it started rising up, and it wasn't right. Its movements wasn't right. It wasn't like a dog standing up. It was something else. But it rose up even higher. Like at that point in my mind, this is all happening pretty fast. But I'm almost to a dead stop. I'm at the dead stop at this point, pretty much. And there's no obstructions in between it and myself. There's a fence there, but I'm behind the road, setting up kind of this section. I can see over the fence. You know what I'm saying? The fence is lower down in the field, the way the road's set up there, and so there's no obstructions between me and it, or it and myself. And but it stood up even higher, like higher than you would think that a dog or a big giant wolf dog thing could stand up. Still on fours though. Uh, the way the legs is made, when it's down on fours, the elbows come back down into its like back into its rib cage, back far, kind of like farther than any other animal. And then the arm, the front part of its leg, it might have something going on with the joints or something, but the other leg come up and was like collapsed up, but still where its hands was on the ground to look four-legged. If you know what I'm trying to say, it's like it looked like a standard dog, but its arms was so large, but they was folded into a way like it was made that way or evolved that way or whatever, to where it was on forward, but its arms was way longer. And when it was starting to stand up, the arms was coming out farther and farther. So that's when I was starting to see how long the forearm sections of it was. So it's long, and then it had a tail. The tail was the same static way. It was up and down both ways, and kind of come down and up. And the ears was big, but it had a mane on it, and the mane, it was a big, fluffy, static-looking mane too. But the ears was long and tall, but they stood up out the mane probably, I'm going to guess, 4.5 inches out the mane. So you're talking about some big old ears because the mane was high. I mean, it had like some donkey ears or something. And not really like a donkey ears, but size-wise, it was more shaped like a wolf or something, you know. But bigger. And the eyes was black, like a like a squirrel. Like couldn't see the whites of it or anything. It wasn't like a jet black demon eyes you see in the movies. It wasn't like it. It was like a squirrel's eyes. It was more of a natural, very reading. It was locked on me too. It wasn't ever looking at the truck. It was looking straight at me. We was making eye contact. It knew me personally, like it looking at me. So let's see. This is about the time. Yeah, I got a good look at it. But yeah, his face, it's kind of leathery, like more like a bat. If you crossed a bat and a baboon together, that's kind of what its face looked like to me. Um, then I felt fear fall up. It come externally from this creature. Like I felt the fear coming from an outside source onto my body. Like I could feel it, like as a force or whatever. And I could tell it was fear, like it was making me want to be afraid. Like I had my skin and flesh had the symptoms of fear, but I could feel it was trying to get in, and I started getting angry. And I had a 44 Magnum in the backpack in the floorboard, and I just thought out to it. Something just told me to he'd understand what I thought. Maybe it's just where I had read so many things. Maybe it was, I don't know, but it was connected to me real strong, stronger than any animal. It wasn't like an animal with its eyes, but other than it having black eyes like a squirrel or something. But, and I thought, I'll kill you. And I was doing it. I was making my way out, that 44 Magnum. And I don't carry that particular handgun anymore, but I can make the shot 75 yards, no problem. It wouldn't have been a thing to me. So it took off. And the only way I can describe it running was just like a rabbit. Like I used to go rabbit hunting a whole bunch. We had some beagles and stuff, and I've seen a million rabbits run. And they run and like their back legs past their front legs, while their front legs are still propelling them down between the middle of your legs. You know what I'm trying to describe?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right.
Actually, I'm quite familiar with the outdoors.
All right, that's good. So if any of the readers or listeners, I keep saying readers, I did that last time, but if you just, that's what I would look up. That's how it was running. And the front legs are so long, it's really pushing them out there. And the back legs was coming way out in the front and grabbing the earth and propelling it. It only did that a few times, and then it jumped up over the fence and then went through it. There was a tree line right there by the fence, and it was foggy. It'd been raining all day that day. And it just hit the fog and boom, it gone. Like I didn't see it no more. And Uh, yeah, that's about the time everything hit me. And I was like, I just seen something right there. I knew what it was. Like I had no doubts. But that's when I realized. That's when I seen the form of it as it took off and was running. I seen the way its back and head and its neck formed and was down. It was that same uh, nearly invisible, that cloaked creature that come out the tree on beside of him. It's the same form. Like it was the same. It was the same type of species of creature, and that really got me on a different path of learning.
So if I could take
Yeah,
a
I started.
second to ask you a couple of questions about some of your encounters that you talked to this point. Also, I wanted to inform you that I also have cleared us for an additional 10 minutes tonight. Being that this is a special episode, I wanted everybody to have the best chance possible to get as much information as possible and as much time for you to tell your story. But I had a couple of questions for you just to help clarify some of the viewers that aren't familiar with some of the weaponry and things like that, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh yeah, I'm good with anything.
Okay, so personally, I know about all the weapons that you were talking about, but I wanted to go ahead and explain to the viewers that don't know the weapons that he is talking about. When he was referring to the Glocks earlier, he said 22 long rifle. And 22 long rifle is the smallest caliber, but one of the most dangerous calibers that there is. And he mentioned a weapon called a 44 Magnum. And a 44 Magnum has a bullet almost as big around as a quarter. And it's got some stopping power. And you said at some point you had a rifle or something, didn't you? Or a shotgun? Or was that the last episode?
Um, so what? Yeah, no, uh, I always keep a rifle close. I was born on a rifle. But but yeah, I always keep a rifle close. But when I mentioned the rifle the last time, when that creature come down out the tree at night and did all that, I'd had it packed up. We was homeless at the time, living in the woods, but um, I had it packed up, and it jittered me up enough that I unpacked it. That's what I'd brought up the last time. So it
Yeah.
got me being like, I want a little more than just my 10 millimeter, and I'd probably still choose my 10 millimeter if it's up close. But
That's
yeah,
also a pretty high caliber handgun on its own as well. It's not quite as big as a 44, but that's got some serious stopping power behind it.
yeah. My particular load, they make hotter loads than I use, but my gun really likes them. I use 200 grains and coming out my barrel right close to 1,200 feet per second. So a little more if I change my barrel. I've got an extended barrel I run sometimes, but my normal 10 millimeter I carry, like the one I got on me this second, it's just this 4.5 inch barrel, so it gets right there about 1190 feet per second thereabouts. That's a big wallop, though.
Also,
200 grains ain't no joke.
no, it's not. So also tell the viewers where you are tonight, being as that you were bringing up Dogman encounters.
Well, I'm actually on the back side of. I'm near where I live at, but I took me a little walk just to have some quiet and peace and stuff. But they actually followed me home a couple days. I can't remember if it was a day or two after. It's been so long, and I should have journaled it better. But it was right soon after I seen it and told it I was going to kill it and run off. Where that probably might not have been the best thing to do too for reference. But um, yeah, I'm right here where they had first come to visit me, and what direction they come from my. They come to my house. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, we was just me and my wife was sitting there in the kitchen and heard like this grunting sound, like can't really describe it or mimic it. It was just like this grunting sound coming right from above the door, back door, like right at our kitchen door. And we went outside and looked. Everything was just silent, dead silent, and had the weird vibe in the air. And didn't nothing happen right there and about that time. But she went on to bed a little bit later, and then that's when it started happening. Yeah, they dropped out the tree down here, and run and they jump. I've seen them leap up. Like they can, it's crazy how they can jump. Uh, but yeah, they was trying to scare me at night. It was all around it was real foggy. They come in that fog at night. And, but yeah, I could see them clearly though. The outlines of them, the ears sticking up, and they dropped down out of the tree, landed bipedal, and it took off to the left from where I was standing, down the fence road right here where I'm standing at. And yeah, it was. That went on for a little while, and the crazy sounds. It was just crazy, like ghost sounding sounds. I keep calling it not a ghost. And I called my uncle at night on the phone, put him on speakerphone, and he got to hear it all and everything. So he was like, "What's that?" When he finally heard it, he's like, "What the world's that?" I was like, "Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you." Like for real. Like I called you, tell you about this creature up here at my house, and it was crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I actually wanted to. I started going out here with him at night because that's my house. I got a tendency to be vigilant. So, yeah, that was crazy. Uh, they never did anything. The dog man that night, they never, they tried to scare the crap out of me. They kept running back and forth, making all them crazy noises. And then it sounded like a bunch of different birds and owls at different locations, and there wouldn't be nothing there. And then that not a goose sound, my uncle kept hearing that on the phone too. And he's like, is that a goose? I was like, no, that's not a goose. Like, it sounds like a goose, but it sure the hell ain't one. But, yeah, that was one of the craziest nights I'd had. That I know for sure it was some dog men because I seen them. And, yeah, that was, yeah, they hadn't done that in a long time, but I still sat out here every night, waiting for them.
Is this still the specific property that we had talked about
No,
previously?
no. That property is a different property. And he had, yeah, it will be mine one day. At least a big part of it. He's already gave me the part that the incident happened on. The owner, heard the story, and he actually has gifted me part of that out there. But now this is actually, I live at a different spot. The property that it all happened on, there's no houses or anything out there. It's his property. And there is a barn and a couple little lots and stuff. But all in all, it's just like a little secluded farm, mostly woods and the ridge and the creek and stuff. But no, that's probably about a half hour from where I actually live at. But no, this actually happened at my house. like they come to my house.
So,
But
how
yeah,
does it
that's
feel to have something so close to your front door? Do you feel that you can coexist with these things, even being as that they are territorial apex predators, or do you think that they will continue to create an issue and potentially start a war?
uh, I really don't know. I really don't know. Be honest with you, I hadn't put up much thought on that the war question to see if they're like I don't really feel that they're. Yeah, I don't know. They never have in history. Like we have a history we can track back, and regardless of what they are, we still have a good record of way, way, way back. So they never have before. There's rumored that they have been involved in wars with people in like India and stuff and Russia, but but as far as a collective unit, their species against our species, I don't really see that going on. And I could be wrong. I'm gonna be, I don't want to be so opinionated that I close my mind, but with all the history that we got, even though so much of it's covered up, I just think if that's what they was planning on, they would have done it prior. Um, or they had the chances, I'd say, especially like back in the Stone Age time and stuff.
So I don't know if you ever heard or not, but there was a story that went around the internet about Dogman being used in World War II to clear out fields, and something about they were used basically as decoys to run across the fields and trigger all the landmines.
Yeah, I've heard crazy rumors like that. my granddad was in World War II in OSS. So if anybody would have known, I think he would have had, but he might be partially right because when my dad had his sighting, whatever my granddad told him fixed him. So he was so when he had his encounter, my grandma said that he just couldn't function. Um, it took his life out of him, you know. Um, and my
Your
granddaddy
father?
said something. My dad, yeah, and his when he had his Dogman encounter, his was more violent, um, more up close and personal, more violent. And um, my granny told me, he even told me, but I never asked him, and he never told me what my granddaddy said. And my granddaddy died before I could ask him myself. But I don't know what he told my dad that night. Now my he was murdered, so I can't ask him what he said. So um, if he'd had prior experience in World War II with him, being in the field he was in, um, then he would have known what to tell my dad. And so I could
Gotta,
see I'm gonna be 50-50 on that.
I got to agree. I think that if your granddad knew something about that creature, it absolutely could have came from his time in the service. However, maybe there's another possibility. Maybe the rest of the generations before him have brought him stories and precautions and things like
Yeah.
that of what's out there.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt in my mind about that one. I mean, that's 100%. But I figured my granddad would have been more open to speaking on that one instead of taking my dad by himself. And um, you know, my granddad, he was like that. Like if he pulled somebody off to the side, it was going to be something secret and special. He didn't want going nowhere. So if it was just some family generational knowledge about the creature, he would have just blurted it out in front of the whole family to hear. But if it was something he had seen from a darker time in his life, he would have pulled him aside. And that's just how my granddaddy worked. So that's why I would think that way.
Well, I can see a lot of that making sense more than anything, but to me it just screams the truth. Because you know quite a bit about your family timeline and the area. And for those who haven't watched part one or part two, you definitely should go check him out. Um, he talks quite a bit about his family in there and their upbringings around these things. Now, we are running down to our last 8 minutes. I went ahead and, like I said earlier, I gave us an extra 10 minutes on this episode. There was one specific encounter that you had mentioned and you had left off with something about some men in some suits.
Oh yeah, yeah. That'd probably take longer than 8 minutes, but yeah, they definitely something going on with them people, and never had no dealings with them until I wrote Reels that letter, and then yeah, they started following me at work at first, and yeah, they phone popping, tapping, bunch of weird stuff going on, and yeah, there was they followed me many times. The second letter I wrote, Reels, I didn't mention the black vehicles. I just mentioned a couple instances with the white ones. Said they was always in twos. Um, them government steel wheels, they'll give them away too. But yeah, they kept on messing with me, tried to get me fired. Deleted records from a medical place that did my Department of Transportation testing, and from my work and from corporate. Then when that didn't get me fired, they reported me for okay. I always carry a firearm. It ain't no secret to me, but I don't go around the world saying it. I ain't one of them. But you know, between us, if there ain't no radar, if there ain't no metal detector, I'm going. I don't care what the sign says. So, but nobody at work knows it. So I don't go around flaunting it. Nobody. I don't talk to this, that, and the other. So, but yeah, I got reported for carrying firearms, or that didn't get me fired either. My dad grew up with the manager's son, or the manager's dad and my dad grew up in the same holler. So you know how it works. So so yeah, but ended up losing my job over my son's accident. So it didn't matter no way. But Yeah, but yeah, but what stopped that was they just had to outrun them high speed suit type stuff a couple times. That was fun though. That just kind of made me feel young again. Um, my boss actually was cool. He changed my work vehicle for me. I just told him. I think he thought I was half lying to him about the guy's telling the truth, but I think he thought I got into it with some dope dealers or something because you know what this Kentucky thing to do sometimes. But but yeah, so I got a little smaller, faster truck, and uh, yes, I called him out on the Facebook thing on Reels on the Facebook group, and I called him out, and so I knew they was reading. I knew it was Reels connected. I knew it wasn't Reels himself. Um, so I called him out and was like, just come get it, basically. And I haven't seen any traces of them since. I haven't seen anybody follow me, nothing like that. I'm sure they're still watching and looking. I still get my phone acting crazy, and especially if I try to text reels. I got screenshots I could send people if they doubt that one. Like it's crazy. Yeah, but them people is all trying to break our communications up. So that's why I was trying to warn you up front from the get go that if they ain't got on your tracker, they got you now. They're gonna be, even though you're a small thing, they listening now. It's over with. So, but
Well, in my experience, I'm the same way as you. Let them come. They ain't gonna catch me doing nothing. I mean, what am I doing? Investigating what everybody is running and hiding and, keeping secrets about? I mean, yeah, but no, I'm not the only one. And like you said, I am a smaller YouTube page, so I don't see them making a lot of trouble out of me. If it were more
no,
one of the bigger YouTube ones, then yeah, I could see them coming after me. But for the most part, I don't really have a whole lot of worries about it. They can come, they can search my house, they can do whatever they want, but
no,
they
they
ain't gonna
never
find.
done. No, I don't think they're. No, I don't. No, that's the thing. I was hitting speeds on 120 mile an hour that day, and right after I dodged them, they can't drive very good. But they can drive. They've trained. I mean, you can tell. But I finally got to both of them behind me by doing fast lane changes at the last minute, like by right on the other side of guardrails. Um, and then right after I got off, running to a Kentucky State Trooper, and no U turn, no blue lights, no nothing. So if they was wanting to get me in trouble, they would have just made a phone call. They still want to hide themselves. They don't want to be known no more. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to get made out if they start getting loose. So that's when I started thinking. That's when I started like, yeah, there's more to it than this government crap. This is a non-governmental organization. They're tied in with the government, getting loops. You know how it works. But no, no, there's something different. I think there's like half of me thinks there's some people that worship these things like they're gods. So,
I was a
like a
little
cult, like a
curious about
liberal
that
cult.
myself.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but after all the experiences I've had and like some people I've bumped into and like people that's popped up when I've been places where I wouldn't normally see these people, like places only locals go, and it's never really happened until all this happened. And I'm really literally nobody. Like I was a poor hillbilly from South Kentucky, like, and then I write a letter, and then here we go. I mean, like, I mean, for real. Think about it. Like, all I can, oh no. Evidently,
Well,
I
you know how
stepped
they
on
are. They
somebody's
pick on
cords. But yeah,
they
so I mean, I can go into some great detail on that sometime other, but yeah, that's yeah, they was aggravating for real. Yeah, it was kind. I ain't gonna lie though, it kind of made me feel like I was living there for a while. It really did. So I was like, you know, I was worried about my kids and stuff, of course, my wife and stuff. But nah, if it's one of them deals, if I was just single and doing it, I'd have loved every minute. I'd have had a ball with that one. I'd have did more than I done.
Well, there ain't nothing
But yeah,
wrong with having a little fun every now and then. But so what do you think about coming in for episode? Well, the fourth installment. I have some other interviews I have to do in the meantime, but a fourth installment talking specifically about your Men in Black encounters.
Yeah, I can do that, and I can. Yeah, I can do that. There's a lot more to the Bell Witch thing that ties into the Men in Black. Also, um, where I stand, there's a 50% chance that they murdered, and then it all happened at the same time that the bullhorn and stuff was invented. So I think a lot of them voices and stuff might have been them tricking the locals and to cover up that truth there. That might have been the first dogman government connection in the United States. Um, so we can talk about that too if you want to.
Absolutely. We are running into our last couple of seconds for the video, so I wanted to go ahead and thank you, Busy. Um, you are a very busy man, and you have a lot of great stories, encounters actually, that we all love hearing. And I think this is a really great way for you to be able to connect with people out there and, kind of show that they're not alone. Um, I've had encounters too, and like we was talking about before the episode, um, with my encounters, if I hadn't have done my research ahead of time, I wouldn't have known what to done or how to accept it, and I probably wouldn't have talked about it. But it just so happens I had already done some years of research on Dogman when I first encountered him, um, as an adult, I should say. And then that kind of helped me remember the times I had seen him as a child, which I will be going back over my personal encounters, probably here soon. So be on the lookout for that, everyone. And let's give a round of applause for Busy. And Busy, you got any last comments before we end her?
No, no, but we got another Dogman night that was real intensive. We can cover also that was real important to me because a lot of good stuff happened. I learned that night, but yeah, we can do that. I can talk to you a little bit more about my theory too. If anybody wants to hear it.
Well, let's go ahead and shoot for a next week date. I do have some things I have to attend to this week, and I do have some other interviews I do have to do. But if the audience want it, we'll provide it. Um,
Works for me.
and with that being said, for everybody that came in and have watched part two or part one, part two, and part three, thank you for coming and being very, very loyal subscribers and just really coming and being a part of this family and really hearing us out. The whole purpose of this podcast in the very beginning was to educate people and to make people feel like they're not alone. And I think running into Busy was probably one of the best things I could have done because his stories alone are out there helping people. I mean, just look at part one. We have over 200 views very quickly. I have over 37 comments. People are they're just in love with this, man. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And Busy, I'm sure everybody would love to see you come back. So, what do you think about next week, brother?
Yeah, anytime, just let me know. As long as I got free time, it's usually have to be around this time. Or it wouldn't matter to them none, but for you, it's always gonna be around midnight or so.
Well, and I mean, I don't really have a problem with it as long as I got good enough internet connection to be able to share this time with everybody and share this time with you. So with that being said, everybody, from me and Busy, we would like to wish you a very happy and very cryptic night. And if you happen to encounter anything in the night, feel free to contact me on Facebook at Hellhound Heights. And I would love to talk to you and maybe even air your story or even have you air your story as we have Busy. And with that being said, have a wonderful night and thank you for joining and watching Hellhound Heights.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching another episode of Hellhound Heights. Friendly reminder, Black Fang Research and Respond Unit is now hiring volunteers to join our group. Respond through the Facebook page at the website linked in the bio. Thanks for watching.